Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's video, we're going to talk through some fall releases that are upcoming. So this will be September, October, and November. And I don't normally do releases, but I wanted to make this something that I do to just kind of talk through some things that I saw that I'm interested in. And I will probably pick some of them up, but it's also just to get some on your radar because I think it's great to find out what new things are releasing. So here we go. Let's get into it. I have them linked on my phone, so I will be looking at my phone for this. So that's why I'm going to be looking down a lot. So let's start with September. Most of the releases I have are in September and only a couple in November and a few in October. Now this isn't obviously all the things that are releasing, and there might be things that interest you that I don't have on this list, but these are just the things that caught my eye. So the first one I have is called Suddenly a Murder. It's by Lauren Munoz, and this is a debut. So the thing that caught my eye about this is it's 7 friends throw a 1920s themed party where it's all pretend until one of them is murdered. So I like that it's like kind of historical but not actually historical, and it says one of us is lying meets Knives Out in this killer locked room mystery, which I recently watched Knives Out and now it's going to become my whole personality. No, I really loved it. And I do like locked room mysteries. I think sometimes they can get a little stale, but then sometimes I read some and I really love it. So I'm hoping this is one that if I pick it up, I will really love. I want to say it's YA. Yeah, it's young adult. So if that doesn't interest you, I haven't read a ton of YA mysteries, but I did read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and really liked it. So I'm interested to try this one. So it's saying that someone brought a knife to the party and it's celebrating the end of high school. And our main character, Izzy Morales, joins her ride or die Cassidy and 5 friends on a 1920s themed getaway at the glamorous Ashwood Manor. And so they have vintage dresses, expensive diamonds, and then Cassidy's boyfriend turns up dead. Investigators declare when they arrive at the scene that everyone at the party is a suspect. I think she's gonna have to figure out who did it, and I think the police are also going to. So I wonder if this will be just one POV or multiple. I generally like multiple POVs, but I think for something like a locked room mystery, it might be good to do just one POV. So that's Suddenly a Murder that comes out on September 5th. Then also on September 5th comes out The Spirit Bares Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. This one I think is going to be very dark, and it's a horror fantasy. It's young adult and historical fiction, and it's queer as well. So this author also wrote Hell Followed With Us, which I also think is darker, and it's London, 1883. The veil between the living and the dead has thinned. Violet-eyed mediums commune with spirits under the watchful eye of the Royal Speaker Society, and 16-year-old Silas Bell would rather rip out his violet eyes than become a obedient speaker wife. According to Mother, he'll be married by the end of the year. It doesn't matter that he's needed a decade of tutors to hide his autism, that he practiced surgery on slaughtered pigs, that he is a boy, not the girl the world insists on seeing, and a failed attempt to escape an arranged marriage. Silas is diagnosed with veil sickness, a mysterious disease sending violet-eyed women into madness, and shipped away to Braxton's finishing school and sanatorium. The facility is cold, the instructors merciless, and the students either bloom into eager wives or disappear. When the ghosts of missing students start begging Silas for help, he decides to reach into Braxton's innards and expose its guts to the world, if the school doesn't break him first. So it's following an autistic trans protagonist, and it's in a historical setting. And it says it does not back down from exposing the violence of the patriarchy and the harm inflicted on trans youth who are forced into conformity. So I think it's going to be a really powerful story and something that is going to be really impactful, but I think it's going to be very dark. So I feel like it's going to have a lot of trigger warnings, but I am interested in it. It sounds really good. I know that's going to be dark. So that comes out on September 5th. Now this one I put on my list, but I think this one is going to be, barring the fact that I like the book I already have. So I want to pick up this fall Cackle by Rachel Harrison, and this is going to be another book by Rachel Harrison. So if I don't like Cackle, because I've heard she does kind of like cozy horror, I think that I will not pick up this one, but if I really like it, then it'll be one I'm interested in. So this comes out on September 12th. And a cynical 20-something must confront her unconventional family's dark secrets in this fiery, irreverent horror from author of Shut, Sharp Teeth, and Cackle. It's nobody has a normal family, but Vesper writes is truly something else. She left home at 18 and never looked back, mostly because she told that leaving the staunchy religious community she grew up in meant she couldn't return. But then an envelope arrives on her doorstep. Inside is an invitation to the wedding of Vesper's beloved cousin Rosie. It will be hosted at the family farm. Have they made an exception to the rule? It wouldn't be the first time Vesper's been given special treatment. Is the invite a sweet gesture, an olive branch, a trap? Doesn't matter. So it sounds like she goes to the wedding. She has to reckon with her family's beliefs and her own crisis of faith in this deliciously sinister novel that explores the way family ties can bind us as we struggle to find our place in the world. So I do think that sounds interesting, and I really always like the covers that they come out with. They're very simple, but like I enjoy them. Though I do like this recover. I thought this was really fun. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel about that one. Then on September 14th, we have The Last to Die by Richard Osman. This is the fourth in the Thursday Murder Club series. So the first one I gave about a 4-star. The second one I gave 5 stars. I really loved it. And then the third one was kind of a letdown for me. I just feel like it wasn't that it was bad. It just didn't live up to the expectations I had for it. It wasn't as funny as the other ones. And I felt like the mystery itself I just wasn't connected to. So I'm hoping this one I do enjoy again. I really like the characters of the story and like their dynamic, and I like the humor in it. So I'm hoping that this one is still really good. So then the next book is a cozy fantasy, and it's releasing September 19th. And I've seen this a lot around TikTok a lot, and I'm really excited for it. So it's called The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brienne Randall. And the cover just looks so fun. So it says, the thing that got me is it says it's for friends, or for fans, for fans of Practical Magic and Gilmore Girls, which if they're talking the movie Practical Magic, then sign me up. The book I did not like, and I like Gilmore Girls. So it's a debut novel that explores the shields we build around our hearts to retain our own magic. Sadie Revelier has always believed that the curse of 4 heartbreaks that accompanies her magic would be worth the price. But when her grandmother is diagnosed with cancer with only weeks to live, her first heartbreak, Jake, McNeely returns to town after a decade. Her carefully constructed life begins to unravel. So it's talking about her grandmother and like the backbone of her family for generations. So I think it's going to deal with some grief, and it's going to be a romance. I think one thing I am interested in with the cozy fantasy is that it seems like a lot of cozy fantasy are going the way of like fantasy romance while still being cozy. And while I am into fantasy romance, I am looking for some cozy fantasy that's not just about romance, because I do think that that's going to become a big trend, is to have everything be a romance. I think that that's great, but we also just need some like non-romance stuff as well. Don't know why I gave you that tangent, but I did. So that's just something I'm hoping to see in the cozy fantasy genre that's coming up. Then we have one that I think a lot of people have seen that is, I think, a YA as well, and it's also coming out on the 19th. Yeah, it's YA. And it's A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. Ava Reed's previously wrote a lot of adult horror fantasy books, and I haven't read any of them, and this is her first YA book. But I'm always interested in the premises, so I really just need to pick one up, which is kind of why I put this on the thing. And I don't know if I told you what it is. It's called A Study in Drowning. So I know this is like a gothic type story, and I think it's at a school. So I think it's going to be a bit dark academia-ish if you are a dark academia fan. So it's saying Effie has always believed in fairy tales. She's had no choice. Since childhood, she's been haunted by visions of the Fairy King. She's only found solace in the pages of Agnerod, author Emery's Mirrodin's beloved epic about a mortal girl who falls in love with the Fairy King and then destroys him. The author's family announces a contest to design the late author's house. And when Effie arrives, she finds she isn't the only one who made a temporary home there. Preston Hillary, a stodgy young literary scholar, is studying Mirrodin's papers and is determined to prove her favorite author is a fraud. As the two rival students investigate a reclusive author's legacy, piercing together clues through his letters, books, and diaries, they discover that the house's foundation isn't the only thing that can't be trusted. There are dark forces, both mortal and magical, conspiring against them, and the truth may bring them both to ruin. So I think that sounds really interesting, and I'm excited. I don't read a lot of YA, like I've said, but I think this is one that I will try to pick up. And it seems like it's getting good reviews so far from the ARCs. From what I've heard of people who have been reviewing the book, so far I've heard good reviews. So then September 20th, we have the fourth Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It's called Before We Say Goodbye by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and that's translated by Geoffrey Truslow. They're a collection of short stories in each book. There's usually 4. They all intertwine, and you're following this coffee shop who, if you drink the coffee, you can go back in time, and there's certain rules for them. You have to get back before the coffee gets cold, and it's basically like you can't change the past, but would you still go back if you knew that? And like there's just a lot of things that people are dealing with, like grief and loss and love, old loves, heartbreak, stuff like that, and it's them wanting to go back in time. And I really like the series. The first one was at one cafe, and the second one, I believe, was at that same cafe. And now the third one I started, but I haven't continued because I wasn't in the mood for short stories. That one, I believe, is at a like sister cafe in another city. So I don't know where this one's going to be set, but I'm very interested. And I know we're behind on the translations. I think there's more out in Japan right now. So I'm just having fun. For as long as the series continues, I've been enjoying it. So that comes out on September 20th. And then one of my most anticipated releases of the year is coming out at September 26th. That is Murder at Merton Library by Andrea Penrose. This is the, oh gosh, the 7th Rexford and Sloane book. And I love Rexford and Sloane. If you haven't been around my channel for a while, you know that. It's a historical fantasy series that also has romance. And you're following two different perspectives, Rexford and Sloane. And Rexford is the Earl, and he is very into science. And in the first one, he is caught up in a murder where he is the main suspect, so he's trying to prove his innocence. And Charlotte Sloane is a artist whose husband passed, and her husband wrote stuff for the newspaper where he would do detailed illustrations, like making fun of the like high society and stuff. And he passed away, and now she's been writing and doing these drawings, and they kind of meet up and solve mysteries. And in this one, we're going to be at a library, and there's going to be a murder at a library. I'm obsessed. They all deal with different like science things, so I don't know if this one's going to deal with like bookbinding and like the process of making books, because I love that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very excited for this one. I think this one might be my favorite just because of the topic, but they've all been so good. So that comes out on the 26th, which is right before my birthday, which means I can be reading this on my birthday. I'm so excited. Then we're into October. So October, I have 4 releases to talk about. So the first one is releasing on October 3rd, and that is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I read in Alex E. Harrow a while ago a Spindle Splintered, and I didn't love it. So it's kind of turned me off, but I have another book by Alex E. Harrow called The Once and Future Witches, which I've heard really, really good reviews on. And I just haven't been able to like get rid of this after not liking that book so much. And there's still something drawing me to it. So I think that I probably will try to read it. So this one also sounds really interesting. So I think I'm going to give Alex E. Harrow another try. But this one, Starling House, says it's a grim and gothic tale about a small town haunted by secrets that can't stay buried and a sinister house that sits at the crossroads of it all. And it takes place in Kentucky. That's really all I know. But I like spooky houses, spooky towns. Is this YA? No. It says it's a adult fantasy horror, gothic horror, which gothic horror seems to be like my favorite kind of horror. So I think that this one could be a really good one for me. So I'm really interested in it. I think I might just see some of the reviews come in once it comes out, but I do think I will pick it up. Then on October 17th, we have a historical mystery. It's called Murder by Degrees by Ritu Mikiri. And this is set in 19th century Philadelphia, specifically 1875, and it's following a pioneer woman doctor as she investigates the disappearance of a young patient who is presumed dead. And so it's dealing with the Women's Medical College in Pennsylvania. And I'm excited to try this one because I haven't done a lot of historical mysteries with like doctors at the forefront. So yeah, so she's a professor and anatomist. So she has a body of a patient that is dredged out of the river, and it's deemed a suicide, but she's suspicious. And so she brings it into the police. She gets brought into the police investigation. So I'm always looking for historical mystery that I like because they're kind of hit or miss for me. I think I've said that before. And so I'm always looking for like the next favorite one because I feel like I'm trying to figure out what I like in the genre. Whenever I do find one that kind of like piques my interest, I'm wanting to try it because I just want to figure out what that niche is in that genre. And I think I'm pickier for some reason with that genre than other genres. So that comes out on the 17th, and I am interested in picking it up. So the next one I have comes out on the 17th as well, and that's The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. So I read Spells for Forgetting this year, and I didn't really like it. It was kind of a disappointment for me. It's like a fantasy mystery with romance, and it's mainly a romance in my opinion. I think that the thing was expectations. I went in with the wrong expectations for the book, and it just was like nothing like I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a mystery heavy with like more fantasy. It just turned out to be like a sprinkle of fantasy with a mystery, but really like the main point of the book was the romance. So now that I know that, I think I want to try this one and see how I feel, because I do think the atmosphere is really good. It felt like you're in like a practical magic town. So like the setting was really great. So I want to try this one and see how I feel now that I can adjust my expectations for what her books seem to be about. But this one is a woman risks everything to end her family's centuries-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this mesmerizing novel by the author of Spells for Forgetting. In the small mountain town of Jasper, North Carolina, June Farrow is waiting for fate to find her. The Farrow women are known for their thriving flower farm and the mysterious curse that has plagued her family line. The whole town remembers the madness that led to Susan Farrow's disappearance, leaving June to be raised by her grandmother and haunted by rumors. So she is trying to break a curse and things like that. And I don't know if there's going to be romance in this one because I don't see anything about another character. It's like the 4th tag on Goodreads, so maybe there is some romance, but that one sounds interesting and I'm very intrigued. And I do think that atmosphere that she makes is very interesting, but it's definitely magical, like realism fantasy. Like it's not full fantasy, it's like a sprinkle. So now that I know that, I am interested to try it. And if you like Spells for Forgetting, I would maybe pick this up because now it hopefully is on your radar if you didn't already know about it. The next one, it releases on October 31st. And this one I found recently and I'm very excited for. It's called What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. A Bolivian Argentina, Inez Oliveira belongs to the glittering upper society of 19th century Buenos Aires, and like the rest of the world, the town is steeped in old world magic that's been largely left behind or forgotten. And so she wants to be with her globetrotting parents who frequently leave her behind. Her parents die and she inherits a massive fortune, and she also gets a ring from her father that has old world magic. But upon her arrival to Cairo, the old world magic tethered to the ring pulls her down a path where she soon discovers that there's more to her parents' disappearance than what her guardian led her to believe. With her guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistant thwarting at her every turn, Inez must rely on an ancient magic to uncover the truth about her parents' disappearance or risk becoming a pawn in a larger game that would kill her. The thing that got me too says it's The Mummy meets Death on the Nile in this lush, immersive historical fantasy set in Egypt, filled with adventure and rivals to lovers romance and a dangerous race. There are some books that make like exhibitions. I tried to say this in my wrap up and I can't say it. Exhibitions, like going to other countries and looking for artifacts and stuff. I don't know if they always do the best at talking about the nuances of that, because there is a lot to be said about like digging up old artifacts and just like shipping them back to like the US or stuff like that where they're not in their home country anymore and stuff like that. So I wonder if this will touch on it at all, but I am interested to see how it goes. And it is YA. It just sounds so good. It sounds like something I would really like. That comes out on the 31st, so I think it's going to be a really good adventure for fall. We got 2 more. So this is November now. November 7th, we have the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which is Bookshops and Bonedust. And I think this is going to have a bit more adventure because I think it's going to be following Viv at like before, like what led her to open the coffee shop. So I'm very excited because I loved Legends and Lattes, which if you don't know, that's about a orc who just opens a coffee shop and hires some people, and it's just about them like coming together and opening this coffee shop. And there's a bit of a side plot with some rival of Viv's, and there's a romance, and it's just great. It's so good, it's so wholesome, and just a fun, sweet, cozy time. So I'm really excited to get to Bookshops and Bonedust. That comes out on November 7th by Travis Baldree. That's another one of my biggest anticipated releases because I loved Legends and Lattes. So that comes out on the 7th. And then the last one is System Collapse by Martha Wells. This is the 7th in the Murderbot series. I have a lot to get through. I'm only on the 3rd one, so I have quite a few to get through, but those are all novellas, and I think the 6th one was a full-length novel, and then this is back to novella. I'm unsure. Yeah, this is definitely novella, because, well, 256. So this is about Murderbot, who is like a robot who has to like save humans. Like they're designed to go with humans on these ships, and like if they're in danger, they fight them off. And Murderbot has like hacked their own system, and so has a lot of free will and just wants to watch their soaps. Like they just want to shut down and watch their soaps the whole time. And in the first one, the humans start getting hurt, and so they have to fight this thing, and it brings out more of like why they've been reset in the past and stuff like this, and they get more to their background in the second one. It's just like a funny sci-fi. It's very approachable for like new sci-fi people, and this one is the 7th one, so I'm really liking this series. I'm looking forward to the 7th one coming out. It comes out on the 14th, so that one is also on my radar. So there you go. Those are all the books that I am looking forward to and have on my radar. If you have any releases, leave them down below, please. If you have any recommendations or things that you know are coming out that you're excited for, or you think I might be excited for, or you think others might be excited for, leave them down below, because I think finding new releases is one of the hardest things for me personally to do. Unless you're following authors, it's hard sometimes to know like the new stuff that's coming out. And it's hard to know what's worth your time. So that's why I'm trying to get better about reading things when I get them, so that you can kind of know if it's worth your time. But also, like, that's why the comments are here. So if you've read stuff and you think they're still worth your time, or you've gotten arcs and stuff, letting people know, you know, it's always good to be informed. So that's all I have to say. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.